So what exactly is a budget full suspension mountain bike? Because every time I call a $1,500 bike budget, people absolutely lose their minds in the comments down there. So I get it, you guys. $1,500 is a lot of money to spend, but the term budget doesn't mean cheap. It means getting the most value for your money. And I think the problem you run into is that people often compare a $1,500 bike to like a $400 Walmart bike and say, oh, $1,500 isn't budget because you can get a mountain bike for $400. But budget in the mountain biking world means balancing that performance with that price, not scraping the bottom of the barrel, you guys.
I just found the limit of cheap bikes.
So today we're diving into what budget really means for enduro and trail bikes like this. How much should you expect to pay? And what are you gonna get at those different price ranges? For some, $1,500 is a huge investment. But for others out there, $1,500 is gonna get them what they would consider an entry-level bike. Where you live, the type of trails you're trying to ride, and how much money you have in the bank account to spend definitely affects what you would consider budget. And if $1,500 seems like a crazy amount of money for you to spend, I totally get it, because I remember when I first started mountain biking, right? $1,500, that was just nuts. I couldn't imagine spending that much on a mountain bike. But the more I rode and the more gnarly trails I really started to ride, I realized that $1,500 was probably the bare minimum amount I could spend to get like a mountain bike that was actually designed and truly capable enough for the style trails that I wanted to ride. But to really find out what budget actually means, we need to look at the full price range of enduro and trail bikes like this. Starting at the sub $1,000 bike range, these are true entry-level full suspension mountain bikes. Now keep in mind, I'm talking about newer bikes, full suspension bikes. So yes, you can find different prices or better deals maybe if you're buying something used or if you're looking at a hardtail or something like that. But for this list and this price range, we're talking specifically about full suspension trail and enduro bikes. So something with a little bit more suspension travel and something that's designed to tackle any trail in the mountain, even those aggressive gravity-focused downhill trails. So for the sub $1,000 bike range, this is where you're getting that basic entry-level full suspension bike. And you really gotta throw some air quotes around suspension at this price range, because the suspension you're getting on a sub $1,000 bike is probably questionable at best and definitely not designed for tackling the gnarliest trails on the mountain. Most of these bikes have outdated geometry, cheaper components, and they may look the part, but they're often a little bit more heavy and probably not that reliable for some serious trail riding, especially for extended periods of time. Now moving up to the $1,000 to $1,500 range. Here's where you really start to see decent entry-level full suspension mountain bikes like the Polygon Siskiu T6. They're really designed for beginners or budget-conscious riders, but still capable of handling almost every trail on the mountain. And these are also good bikes for you to buy if you know you're gonna upgrade over time. All right, now moving up into the $1,500 to $2,500 range. And this is where people start to lose their minds a little bit, because I think this is really the sweet spot. This is where you kind of hit that budget full suspension trail and enduro bike category. This is where, yes, $1,500 to $2,500 is a lot of money to spend, but you're really starting to get a bike like the Polygon Siskiu T7 or the Polygon Colossus N7 that is just a bit more capable, really designed for those aggressive downhill trails, and a bike that you don't like have to upgrade right away, and you're really gonna be able to get out there and ride just about everything on the mountain right out of the box.
There it goes.
And And you can see right here on my Siskiu T7, I've done just a couple upgrades, things like grips, saddle, pedals, but even with just those upgrades, pretty happy with the way this bike is riding. And I truly feel that at this price range right here, you're getting the best bang for your buck value. But moving on up from there, this is where we get into the $2,500 to $4,000 bike range. This is definitely above what I would call budget. These are those kind of mid-range bikes, mid-range price level. I know it's starting to get expensive now, but the mid-range price level where you're starting to get, you know, amazing components. You can find just about everything you want spec'd on this bike to where you really don't have to worry about upgrading this thing, maybe ever. These mid-range bikes have, you know, better components, better suspension, often are quite a bit lighter all around. So if you're a serious rider looking for a truly capable bike with that long-term reliability, this is probably the price range for you. This is also the price range where you can find some amazing used bikes, but that's a whole nother can of worms that I would need a completely separate video to discuss with you guys. All right, now we're moving on to the $4,000 to $8,000 price range. And this is when you're gonna find some truly premium bike builds. Carbon frames, top tier suspension, wireless drivetrains, boutique components. But remember you guys, this is where that performance, you know, you're quickly starting to get some diminishing returns on how much money you're spending. And you're kind of getting into that category where you're spending for things like Kashima coating and things that you probably don't really need, but it sure looks good. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the best bikes that I've rode have been in that $4,000 to $8,000 price range, but you're definitely paying a little bit more for prestige than you are for performance. But that's not it. Now moving on to the final category. I'm talking about the $9,000 to $10,000 plus range bikes. These are just ridiculously expensive bikes. At this point, you're basically just paying to flex out on the trail. These bikes won't make you any faster. They probably won't make you any better, but you're gonna look amazing. You're probably gonna feel amazing, even when that guy on the Polygon Siskiu T7 is lapping you on the trails. So that's the price breakdown right there. And let me just mention real quick, you guys, that list that I was talking about, it did include a lot of Polygon bikes. Those are just the bikes that I'm riding and reviewing lately. I do have affiliate links down in the video description, so if you guys are interested in a Polygon bikes from Bikes Online, definitely use those links. It helps support the channel. But this video is not sponsored. They send me these bikes. All the reviews and opinions are 100% mine, and there are definitely plenty of other brands out there, you know, YT I've rode in the past, even Trek, you can find some of those bikes on sale. You know, quite a few other brands that might be better for you or that you might like just a little bit more. But the Polygon bikes with the Siskiu one I'm riding right now is just what I'm riding, what I'm stoked on, and that's just why I'm talking about it in this video right here. But let's move on to the next topic in this video. Why is $1,500 budget? Calling a $1,500 bike budget might seem wild, but in the mountain biking world, for full suspension mountain bikes, that's really the bare amount of money you're gonna be able to spend for a reliable and capable full suspension mountain bike. Using this Polygon Siskiu T7 right here as an example, for $1,500, I mean, that is like the sale price right now. It's at like $14.99, I think. Check the link down there on that. The prices may change by the time you're watching this video, but for $1,500, what you're able to get is a reliable full suspension rig, solid suspension design with decent geometry, a reliable drivetrain, a frame you can upgrade as you progress over time. It's got tubeless ready wheels, tubeless ready tires, a dropper post, you know, decent bars and cockpit setup already straight out of the box. And compared to like those $5,000 or ridiculously $10,000 Enduro or trail bikes, this truly is budget and what I consider like the best bang for your buck for most riders out there that are trying to ride the type of trails that I like to ride. Sure, you won't get fancy carbon wheels or top tier suspension at this price point, but for 99% of the riders out there, this bike is more than enough to tackle just about any trail, have a ton of fun riding without worrying about reliability issues or consistent breakdowns. So budget is definitely a relative term, but the point of these videos is trying to help the average rider find the type of bike that's going to give them the most value for their money. What's the cheapest option? Sure, a Walmart bike. So what's budget for a trail or enduro bike? It's not just about the bike, it's about finding a bike that balances cost and performance. And whether you're spending $1,500 or $10,000, the point is getting a bike that allows you to get out there on the trails that you want to ride and have fun. And to be honest, if you want to buy that $10,000 bike, good for you if you got that kind of money to spend. Just know that it's probably not going to make you any faster, it's probably not going to make you ride any better, and you could get quite a bit out of a $1,500 budget bike like this and save that extra money for additional mountain bike trips, going to those epic destinations that we all want to be able to ride. But let me know down there in the comments, what do you consider budget? How much did you spend on your last bike? What's the most you've ever spent on a bike? And as always, remember, at the end of the day, it's all about getting stoked, going riding, and having some fun, people.